Welcome to Leadership Rediscovered. I'm your host, Laura Siebold, and today I am very honored to be joined by Alys Smith. Alys is the co-founder of the Wing to Wing Foundation. She is the First Lady of Marshall University and an attorney, among other things, as we will learn today. As co-founder of the Wing to Wing Foundation, Alys supports and facilitates many philanthropic activities that increase access to education, open entrepreneurial doors, and preserve and promote the natural environment of Appalachia. Additionally, Alys is passionate about her role and platform as the First Lady of Marshall University, supporting women's equality and empowerment. Her goal is to empower women in Appalachia and beyond to realize their full potential on whatever path they may choose. As a certified mediator and licensed attorney, Alys Smith seeks justice for all, regardless of social or economic status. Since 2005, she has worked with several nonprofits focused on education and adolescent counseling, served as a mentor and as a court-appointed special advocate for young women. She also serves on the boards of the New Opportunity School for Women in Berea, Kentucky, and the Education Alliance in Charleston, West Virginia. As an attorney, Alys spent her career working for the Ohio Attorney General, several law firms in Ohio, Connecticut, and New Jersey, and she was recently admitted to the West Virginia bar. She is the founder of Better to Mediate, a firm that provides mediation services to people seeking conflict resolution as an alternative to litigation. She currently serves as a guardian ad litem representing the best interests of children in abuse and neglect cases across West Virginia. Alys received her BS from the Ohio State University and a JD from the University of Akron School of Law. The Wing to Wing Foundation provides increased access and support for education, entrepreneurship, mentoring, and investment, and works to help residents preserve and enjoy the natural beauty of Appalachia. Alys co-founded Wing to Wing in 2019 alongside her husband, Brad D. Smith. Alys is also a dedicated mother of 2 adult children, Devin and Peyton. Alys Smith, thank you so much for driving quite a distance to be here for this conversation in person.
Well, you're welcome. We had a great day for that.
Yes, we did. And I'm excited. And you got to see a bit of West Virginia territory, geography that you haven't quite been through yet.
That's right.
That helps as well. So I so excited to have you here. I am really looking forward to the opportunity to help introduce you perhaps to people that don't know you, especially because you're a little bit newer to West Virginia. And so I think really the best place to start is probably just if you'd be willing to tell us your story and tell us your leadership journey.
Okay, well, so I grew up in Akron, Ohio.
Yeah.
I've got a sister and a brother, and my father was a trial attorney. My mother was a speech and hearing therapist. Mm-hmm. She had multiple graduate degrees, so education was huge in our household. She was denied entry to medical school because of her gender.
Wow.
And that was always something that really troubled my sister and I. We just could not understand how that could be fair.
Yeah.
And that is something that taught us early on that the world is not an even playing field. Mm-hmm. So that's an early lesson, and it's followed me throughout my life. And then, my sister and I would want to play t-ball because t-ball was a fun sport.
Yeah.
And we were told, well, sorry, you can't play because only the boys can play.
Wow.
And we thought, wow, that doesn't make sense. We're actually better athletes than a lot of these boys that are playing.
Mm-hmm.
And surprisingly, my father would just say, well, that's just the way it is. And my mother was willing to fight for and with us every time.
I love it.
And so throughout our lives, I could not understand why there were different rules for boys and girls, men and women. Mm-hmm. And it never made sense to me. And that's always led me to be a big proponent of justice and equality for people. Yeah. And actually, that's one of the reasons that led me to want to go to law school, because I'm really big into what is fair. Mm. And I thought by going to law school that would give me the right tools to help address that in our society wherever I could. Yeah. And then growing up, I was subject to so many instances of sexual harassment. It's crazy. I went to law school, mm-hmm. and the day that I walked into law school, one of my professors saw me, had never met me, and told a group of students that he was going to make it his mission to make sure that I did not succeed in law school just because I was a woman.
Wow.
So I had to battle through that. And
from day one.
Yeah, from the beginning, as though law school was not hard enough, right? And I had to work with the administration, and that professor was appropriately disciplined. But, I suffered for years through that. Mm-hmm. And then when I became an attorney, I thought, okay, finally, I'm an attorney, and I'm going to be treated equally. I've worked for it. Mm-hmm. I've got my degree. I've been sworn in. And I would enter a courtroom, and the judge would say, well, good morning, sweetie. Why don't you come on up here? Are you the court reporter? Are you someone's assistant? And I'd say, no, I am.
No, I am the attorney.
I'm the attorney on the case. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And then on my first day of work for this firm that had a great reputation, my boss propositioned me and asked me if I would want to sleep with him that night.
Wow.
And I said, no, I would absolutely not be interested in that at all. Yeah. And then he went on to say, well, when you don't let me put my arm around you, it really upsets me. And I said, well, when you do that, it really makes me angry.
Yeah.
And somehow or other, because of the strength of my convictions, instead of getting myself fired, mm-hmm. my boss ended up liking me the best in the firm. I got all the best cases.
Wow.
I traveled around the country trying cases in federal court. But it could have gone the opposite way.
Yes.
And it does for a lot of people.
Yes.
So, so that's a problem. I had plenty of research projects as a law clerk where I'd go to turn it in, and then the attorney for whom I was working would try to kiss me. Mm. And I just thought, what is going on? Yes. I was not dressed in an inappropriate way. No. I'm just going to put that out there.
Yes.
But even if I was.
Yes, it's still not appropriate to act that way. Yes.
So all of these events that happened, I just realized that the power differential between men and women is what leads to that kind of behavior. Mm-hmm. And I've always been all about trying to address that, understanding that for so many who are not in a position as I was willing to take a hit if that's what it took to stand by my convictions. But a lot of women are, whether they're single parents mm-hmm. or they're desperate for the job, they don't feel comfortable speaking up because when you speak up, you get re-victimized often.
Yeah.
And you can lose your job. And then, of course, if you go to that next level of filing a lawsuit, mm-hmm. you may never work again mm-hmm. in your industry. So these are things that I'm obviously well aware of. And I just try to coach women to stand up for themselves, to act as confidently as they possibly can, because confident women are less targets.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a really good point. And also, I think to remind women that it's not your fault. I think a lot of times when you're talking about people who don't speak up, don't stand up, oftentimes, because I've been harassed too, which I'm fascinated. You've got an attorney and someone who worked in human resources. So people you would think would know those are people you shouldn't harass because of anyone. They know what the laws are in the workplace around that, right? But it's happened to me numerous times too in several companies, not just one place. And I was always fascinated by that. And even though I knew so much about it, still in many of those instances, I would go internally to, what did I do wrong? Did I cause this to happen? Was I too, because I'm a friendly person, was I too friendly? Did I put out some kind of vibe that I didn't mean to? So in addition to being scared of losing my job or whatever other scenario may have been, and that came up for me as well. And that can be a challenge for women as well.
Yeah, that's totally common. Mm-hmm. I think women themselves try to blame themselves for the things that happen to them when it has nothing to do with them. Mm-hmm. And that's something we do need to work on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so you But you and your husband have several leadership roles. I like to call them hats. You wear many different hats. So you have the Ascend program, Wing to Wing Foundation. You have your Better to Mediate business. Obviously, your husband's the president of Marshall University. And so you have a leadership role as First Lady. And I would love to hear your perspective on that role in particular. What types of opportunities have come up for you now that you're in this First Lady role?
Well, as a First Lady, it does give me a platform that I can use to help women, to help the underserved and overlooked, and also to help children. One of the reasons that Brad and I decided to apply for this position as president and go through the whole very arduous interview process.
Can't even imagine.
Was because, we had been major supporters of both West Virginia and Marshall University for many, many years. So we had already a huge investment in this area along with our foundation. And it took us about 4 months to make a decision. What are we going to do? Are we going to go to West Virginia, leave California where we've lived for 18 years? It was a big decision. At the same time, for me, I had been the supporting spouse to a very well-known, popular CEO, my husband. He's both nationally and globally known, always on television, on the front of a multitude of magazines. And I got to a point in my life because I was working as a mediator, not a lawyer in California. I wasn't licensed there. Where I started to feel a little bit invisible. A lot of women get to this point as supporting spouses.
And mothers.
And mothers, especially those mothers whose kids are leaving the nest. Or they've gotten really busy with their lives. And you get to a point and you say to yourself, oh my goodness, what do I want to do with my life? What legacy do I want to leave? So when we made this decision to make the move, I realized that I finally had a really awesome platform to do some of the things that are important to me. And that truly is to support women in whichever capacity that I can.
Yeah. And there's a lot of opportunity for that too, especially here. I think you and I are both from Ohio. So to me, when I moved to West Virginia, it was eye-opening to me that some of what I was brought up in, the situations, the environment that I was up in, I was very naive and really privileged and didn't realize at the time all of the privilege that I did have until I made the move, and then also traveled, and that helps as well to give you some perspective. But especially coming here, recognizing, wow, I was really blessed to have the opportunities and the environment that I had. And there's so many people that don't have that, especially in West Virginia. So I think there's so much potential and opportunity to do that work.
Yeah. And what's so interesting about the move to West Virginia is we came here because we believe so strongly that there is so much opportunity here. West Virginia is on the upswing. Huntington is on the upswing. Marshall University is in the middle of a huge transformation. So our feeling is this is the time.
This is the time.
And a lot of West Virginians don't have that feeling of hope. So many have lost hope. So one of the first things they would say to me is, wow, you came here from California, so how is that transition going? Like this look like,
what do you think?
I'm really sorry that you had to come here. And I would respond that I thought there was a lot of opportunity here. And they would look at me and say, you do? And I would say yes. And they'd say, oh, okay, well, good luck with that. and so, it almost makes you think, am I missing something?
Wait, what's going on? Is this a joke?
Yes, but, I think since we've been here, and I have to give most credit to my husband because he's doing such awesome work, I think people are getting more hope. We're working so much on economic development here, not just for the entire state, but also for the whole region. And we're helping to bring in more business and get people more jobs. And just the opportunity is exploding. This does seem to be that moment in time.
Yes, I agree. Especially, again, I didn't grow up here, but I've been here for 20 years now. So to see where things are right now, I mean, you cannot go a day without hearing about some sort of economic development that's happening, a big development happening in West Virginia. And I think the other really neat thing that you don't see in other places is the collaboration that's happening from universities in the state, which typically universities aren't going to collaborate together. They're usually more in a competitive type landscape. But the partnership that's happening between universities with legislature and then also, or legislators, that is, and then also the business community. I mean, there definitely seems to be quite a lot of collaboration from different industries and different parts of the state, all working towards that one mission of we got to move West Virginia forward, and especially figuring out what those economic drivers are. So I see it too.
That's exactly right. When everybody has a common goal, you can really work to push things forward.
Yes.
You know, the less impediments we have, the better.
Now I have to stop because you sat for the West Virginia bar, and let's not gloss over that because it's been a little while since you went to law school. So if you don't mind, I got to ask some questions about what the motivation was behind making that decision, because that is not just like, oh, and by the way, I mean, it's in your bio, like, oh, by the way, she took the West Virginia bar and was admitted. Yeah. You know, this is a big deal. So are you willing to share a little bit about that decision?
Yeah. So I always really enjoyed being an attorney. And when I lived in California, and I wasn't licensed there because I already had 3 licenses, and I really just wasn't ready to take another bar exam at that time in California. So when we decided to make this move, I thought, you know, I really, really want to use my law license. I want to get back into law. You know, I always loved my profession. I think you can use it for good. You could use it for bad too, just like anything else, right? But for me to do that, I had to decide whether I was willing, after not studying for a bar exam for 25 years, if I wanted to restudy and sit for a bar exam, all while I was getting ready to move from one state to another, sell my house, prepare my daughter who was getting married this last May, all of these things happening at once. And I decided to go ahead and study and sit for that bar exam last February because it was important to me. I needed it for me. And at the time, I wasn't sure how I would even use that law degree, but I was going to do, if I didn't have it, I couldn't use it at all.
Yes, that would have held you back potentially.
Right. And I'm a firm believer that now is the time. So many of us think about things we want to do. And we're like, the time, I just don't have the time, or oh my gosh, it's so much work. You know, maybe next year. There is just no time like the present. We waste time when we put things off. And I just made that decision. And it was so well supported by both my husband and my daughters.
That's fantastic.
I mean, it felt great. It was like the thing I needed to motivate myself forward and also to feel really good about something that I could do for myself.
Yeah, and it's helping to reestablish that identity, because when you talk about it's very easy to slip into this invisibility and being focused on serving others, which is wonderful, and there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes over the course of time, you can start to lose yourself and lose your identity. And then you're in this position of, okay, well, wait a second, all these people that I was serving maybe don't need me as much anymore. So now what do I do? And now who am I? And where do I go from here? And I just want to acknowledge that is such a huge step to take, because when you start going through all of the, I would say, excuses really for why not to do what you did. I mean, you certainly had plenty of opportunity to say, now's not the right time. I'm not only just moving, I'm really disrupting my entire life for my family. And then there's the logistical aspects of moving, and I'm planning my daughter's wedding. I've got all these things going on. I call them someday goals. I'll do that someday. I'll put it off till someday, right? And the fact that you said, okay, in spite of all of those obstacles, I'm still choosing to do this. And you had that support. And I think a lot of times women in particular don't think they will have the support of the people around them, and don't even get to the point of pursuing it or talking about it or recognizing that actually oftentimes I think people's families are a lot more supportive than they realize.
Well, and let's be honest, the thing that really holds us back is not so much the excuses. It's our fear.
Yes.
We are so afraid of failing, of disappointing ourselves or disappointing someone else that we just decide it's just not worth it. And I was scared to death. But just as Glennon Doyle always says, we can do hard things.
We can do hard things. Yep.
We sure can.
Yeah, and you're right. And you did. You did it. And my goodness, there's people, a lot of people that do not, they come right out of law school and sit for that exam and do not pass. And that is not an easy task to accomplish. And so not only did you make that tough decision, I'm going to do this, I'm going to study for it, I'm going to sit for it, but you did it. And now you have it available to you. And I think that is so inspiring and such a great story to serve as a role model for anyone to say, hey, listen, go after, don't wait till someday. Go after your goals, go after your dreams.
Yeah.
It's huge. So I know something that's important to you, especially related to your platform, is courageous conversations. And I was hoping maybe you'd be willing to talk a little bit about why courageous conversations and what that means for you and the importance of it to you.
Yes. So October 6th, 2023, I will be hosting a Women's Warrior Summit.
Ooh, yes.
And that will be in Huntington, West Virginia at the Mountain Arena.
Okay.
And we'll probably have about 500 people.
Oh, my goodness.
And the tagline is the courage to say, the power to say no, the courage to say yes.
Oh, the power to say no, the courage to say yes.
Yes. And it's really all about courageous conversations. So in the world that we live in now with so much political divide and people are afraid to have the conversations, the hard conversations that they want to have with people of opposing views, or just the hard conversations that they need to have with peers, with bosses, with friends, with spouses. Hard conversations are not easy, but we hope to teach a framework to all the women or any men that would like to attend. You know, we're definitely not exclusive.
Yeah.
Who want to learn the best ways to have conversations with positive outcomes. And so some of the things that you have to think about is when you need to have a hard conversation, you first start out with, what is the goal that I want to achieve? You don't know what you want. The conversation is not going to go anywhere. It's going to be all over the place, right? So you start with that. And then you lead with good intent. So people want to know where you're coming from. Are you here to bash me or are you here to partner with me? Very different types of intent.
Yes.
You know, when you want to partner with someone, you have a good idea you want to share, people are much more open to listen, right?
Yeah.
Then you have to really listen. And this is not listening with the to-do list in your brain or listening with the thought in your mind of what I'm going to say next in this conversation. We all do it.
Listening to respond. Yep.
So we really need to listen because people truly feel the most respected when they have your full attention.
Yeah.
That you are fully present to hear what they have to say. And you may not like what they're going to say, especially, you know, in politics.
Yeah.
If you don't agree, it's often difficult to listen to that opposing view. But that's the problem in our world right now. So many of us are involved in that whole cancel culture.
Yes.
If you say the wrong thing, I'm going to block you. I'm going to cancel you. You are no longer my friend. But if we would listen to each other, we would do our own research, not just listen to the talking heads and our little do loop of social media, because each of us just gets the same loop over and over, reinforcing what we think we know. And the truth is, when you don't hear half of the information because you're cutting it off, you're losing huge knowledge.
Yes.
It's an opportunity to educate ourselves, to do our own research, and come up with our own ideas.
Yeah.
And then further, I would just say that women in particular shy away from hard conversations. It's hard to rock the boat. You don't want to upset people. And so oftentimes women hold it in for a long, long time. And eventually they either blow in an argument or they get really passive aggressive.
Yeah.
And it's just not a way to live. If you want to have a really positive life, a happy life, you should address issues with people, but address them in a way that's going to get you the outcome you need. And there are some people, if there's somebody really narcissistic, you're probably not going to get anywhere. But, that's just, it's the way it is.
Yeah.
But my hope is that through this Women's Warrior Summit, we will give women and men more tools that they can use so they know how to better have these conversations, both at work and at home. And they can raise whole communities that way, because I truly believe that when you teach a woman any skill or give her a good piece of information, she will take it back to her children, to her family, to her community, to her sisters, and that will spread the word, because women are the best sharers of information.
Yes.
We really do share.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, with our community. And I remember when I was going through my coaching certification, my whole family was like, oh, here she comes. She's going to coach us tonight. She's going to ask. But really, I mean, it is, it's through excitement and that energy of, I just learned something new and I want to lift up others. I think you and I have talked a lot about the ability to lift up other people, especially women, but all people, and the power that women have in particular through community and through supportive sisterhoods, where it's, hey, I just learned this thing, or we were talking about jewelry, hey, I want to tell you about where I got my earrings and all of that, but also things like, hey, I just learned this new tool for having conversations, because I do think, and I think about my own life and conversations that have been hard for me. I mean, I am definitely have been self-categorized as a people pleaser pretty much my whole life. I like to say I'm a reformed people pleaser, but some days I do better than other days. But if you are a people pleaser, those courageous conversations are even that much harder sometimes, because you don't, like you said, you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to upset people. You don't want to disappoint or let down. And I think sometimes women typically are a little bit more intuitive. And so I'll hear people say they should know. They should know, right? I know what this person wants. They should know what I want. But it's not so much the case that someone knows and is just choosing not to support you or do what you want or wish. A lot of times they just don't know. You have to say something. People don't have crystal balls. You have to be able to have that hard conversation and get it out, because you're right. What happens when people bottle it is health problems and or the passive aggressive that you talked about, or just complete volcanic eruptions at usually not appropriate times, because it's just got to come out somewhere at some point.
Well, and then they may hate their job because it's such a terrible culture, because they've not taken seriously this opportunity to share something with the coworker that's driving them nuts or the boss who is mistreating them.
Yes.
Maybe it's a cultural thing the boss doesn't know. There are just ways to address these things that can make your work better. And then at home, if there's some issue that you've had with your spouse and you just don't want to say it, because let's be honest, it's easier to let it go. But when we are honest with our relationships improve. And we're all happier. And if we would all do that all the time, we would spend less time griping with each other about others. And get things done.
And talk to each other. I mean, I have several friends who are very transparent, direct, honest, and not mean-spirited about it. It's just, you will always know where I stand with you. And I have so much respect for that. And I appreciate that so much, because I don't feel like I have to walk on eggshells when I talk to them. I feel like they're being open and honest and transparent with me. And then that gives me a permission slip to do it back with them. And so we have these beautiful conversations. Do we always see eye to eye on everything? No. But we can have these open, honest dialogue with each other, learn from each other, and then still move forward and be friends.
That's
and
right.
Get together for dinner again or whatever we're doing.
And you don't even have to agree.
No.
It's okay not to agree and hear each other out and move on. That's okay.
Yeah.
We don't have to hate each other when we don't agree.
Yeah, exactly. But to your point, I mean, I think it's the courage piece of courageous conversations is important, because it's a lot easier to cancel. It's
Mm-hmm.
easy to sit behind a laptop and write mean comments on someone's post about what they're doing. It's easy to just listen to the clickbait or the soundbite or whatever and go off of that. It's easier to block someone. And to actually have the courage, to me, that's a part of leadership, is to have the courage to say, no, we're going to have a conversation about this because I'm curious to learn from you, and I want us both to be better. I want us to walk out of this situation better instead of just you go your way and I go my way, and that's
Mm-hmm.
the end of it.
That's right.
And so I think that is a huge piece of leadership.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear from you just on the topic of leadership. What's your definition of leadership?
Well, a lot of people think in order to be a leader, you have to have a team. And that's absolutely not right. In fact, there's this phrase that my husband always used, and he got it from one of his coaches. And the phrase is, a title makes you a manager, but your people decide if you're a leader.
Ooh, I like that.
And the whole point of leadership is you can be a leader if you can inspire others to be better. Often what you need is a joint mission. You know, what are the goals? And then to be a really good leader, you need to work with people to have really good relationships so that you develop loyalty and trust. And you have these conversations and you can be vulnerable.
Yes.
Because when you show your vulnerability, others will do the same.
Yeah.
And that's how you build on your relationships. So when you can stand for something greater than yourselves and better those around you, that's truly my definition of leadership.
And I love that. That's such a great definition, because I think about, you're right, anyone can be a boss or boss people around or tell them what to do.
Right.
And if you're thinking about, you mentioned power differentials earlier, if you are someone has a position of hierarchy or authority over you, then you maybe have to somewhat listen to them or do what they're asking you to do. But I used to work with someone who'd always say that just gets you, he called it malicious compliance. So that just gets you to the bare minimum, right? I will do only this because I have to, not because I want to, or I'm inspired to.
Exactly.
And it's certainly not inspired to do more. It's more of that, I'll give you the bare minimum while I'm looking for another job.
That's right.
I'll use that extra energy for that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So as you think about your leadership style, have there been any people or events that have really shaped who you are at this point as a leader?
Well, I would start with, so my father as a trial lawyer, I would watch him, whether in trial or in arbitrations, and he was just a man of few words. And I remember sitting in one of his, I think it was an arbitration, and watching him, and he barely said anything. I mean, he said maybe 3 or 4 sentences, and I thought, oh my gosh, my poor dad, he's going to lose. The other guy went on and on and on. And in the end, my dad won. And what I learned through watching him, not just there, but in other places, the same thing was sometimes less is more. You use the words you need and not a bunch of extra ones, because truly, when you have the stronger position, you don't need more words. So I learned that a quiet way of leadership through my dad. And then I've also learned a ton of leadership skills from my husband, Brad, because he is by far the best leader I've ever encountered, ever watched. And it's not because he's my husband. He has a servant style of leadership where he truly tries to improve those around him by teaching, by role modeling, and those who work with him always end up better for it.
Wow.
And so I really admire that his goal is always the we and not the me. And then lastly, I would say Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh.
She is exactly the kind of female leader that I admire, because she worked so hard and she had to face all these gender-biased issues, not getting jobs that she deserved because of her gender and also because of the timing.
Yes.
And then she would have all the facts. She would do her own research, and she would argue with facts in a very level-headed way. And she was always so persuasive because she didn't get emotional about things. She just made the arguments based upon her research. And it was impressive to watch.
Yes.
And I just so appreciated that she always went for what she believed in, even when it seemed unpopular.
Yes.
She always said that thing. She had the great dissent. And I so admired her. I was really sad when she passed.
Yeah.
We'll never have another one like her.
No, but so many lessons that you can pull from her, that anyone can pull from her in terms of her style. I mean, I feel like always very prepared and very thorough. So when she would speak, she could back it up. It wasn't, let me just throw some stuff out there and see what sticks on the wall. I mean,
That's
she
right.
really was very thoughtful about what she said, how she said it, and it was kind of hard to argue opposite of what she had to say.
Yeah. I was a believer.
Yeah. It was very put together. Well, as you think about that makes me think about women in leadership in particular. And I feel like there's a lot of conversation about why aren't there more women in leadership roles? And I think many of us probably have our opinions as to why that might be. But as you think about lifting up and empowering women in leadership roles, regardless of whether we're talking about in a corporation or a nonprofit or in a community, whatever the case may be, what thoughts do you have about how women can go about developing their leadership skills?
Well, I think they have to think about what their goals are. I mean, it's always important to start with goals. And I think it's important also to always be learning and learning from your mistakes and applying that knowledge to everything that you do. A lot of more professional development is always good. The network, connecting with more women in all kinds of different industries is always a good thing. Getting involved in organizations. I think that especially as we get older, women want more than anything to help other women. So if we can find ways to grab our sister's hand and raise her up in whatever she's doing, support her business, give her great ideas if you have one. Anything that we can do. And then as far as, women in government, I wish we could get more women to run for office. Unfortunately, most of the time, the right people aren't running for office because it's hard. It's not hard on you personally, but it's hard on your family. And, you really need to do it for the right reasons. And women, of course, often have child rearing, roles, and it's hard to balance all that. And working in politics is not an easy area to balance. So I think that's one of the reasons that women don't get more into government. In fact, taking care of children is one of the reasons that a lot of women are unable to do the work they wish. If more companies would have child care facilities on premises, you would have so many women working.
And knowing, my child's taken care of, they're okay. And
because women are loyal. If their kids are taken care of, they will be there every day.
Yeah. And really, there's so many great strengths, especially that come from mothers. I mean, I've experience with working on teams with women and women who are mothers who just are what they're able to accomplish in a day and juggle and balance but they find a way to get it done. And you're right. If they know that their people and their priorities are taken care of, because if you ask anyone to choose between their family and their career, typically male or female, I mean, the answer is usually going to be the same in terms of if you're putting me in a position where I have to choose, I'm going to choose my family. It's just that the way the systems and the support structures are set up, it unfortunately, typically, it's the women that have to choose the family more so than men. But I think hopefully some things are changing with that. But I think, again, as you look at what is available and what's out there for women, I agree. I think sometimes people will say, well, it's that women aren't interested in these roles. And that actually might be true. But I think the other piece of it is that when you go into higher levels of leadership, particularly in a corporate world, that's what I'm more familiar with. So I can only speak from that side. The sacrifice, there's more and more sacrifice that goes along with that in terms of time on the job expectations, travel expectations, and all of those combined, the requirement of leading other people and the investment that takes, all of that combined can be really challenging when, you're right, you have child rearing responsibilities as well, and you're in this position where you feel like you have to choose between the two.
Well, and the other thing, at least in the corporate world, not all people are motivated by the same thing.
No.
So some people are motivated to get the next promotion, and be in the big corner office. And that title makes them feel like they have achieved everything they wanted.
Right.
There are other people, and oftentimes it's women, who feel like they just want to be appreciated for the hard work that they do in their role, and do it to the best of their ability and get some appreciation for it and then go home.
Yeah.
That they don't necessarily want the next role because that's not the role that they enjoy.
Right.
And there's a lot of men, like that as well. But I think sometimes we focus too much on what is the definition of success.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that you said that, because you're right. There are a lot of people out there. I remember someone saying to me in my career, well, if you want to be the next CEO, and I was like, I have no desire to be the CEO of this company. That nowhere is that on my career path. And it's a fine job. It's just not what motivates me. It's not what gets me out of bed every day. It's not what I'm excited about. And it's not my definition of success.
That's
and you're right. I think talking to people about, what is it that you need? What is it that you want? And how can we support you? I think those are the conversations that need to be happening, as opposed to just, well, if you look at the statistics, we only have so many women at this level and so many women at this level. And then we just start making assumptions about why that might be, and then go chasing solutions based on those assumptions. It's like, well, maybe you should just talk to them and ask them back to the courageous conversation.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe just go ask them, what is it that you want? What is it that you need? And how can we best support you? Because maybe it's, I don't want that job, but I do want to work here. However, I have concerns about my children. Or maybe I want to work here, but I don't want to have to come into the office every day. I want to be able to do my job from home. Can that be part of the equation?
Right.
Would be really helpful to have that conversation.
That's exactly right.
Something I've noticed about you, some of my first impressions of you, is that you are a really good listener. And you mentioned listening earlier, and truly active listening to someone, and the importance of that. And I would love to hear from you. I think sometimes that's easier said than done, because we do have a lot of distractions and things that get in the way. If you had any tips to share, or anything about how you've learned to be a good listener, because that is, to me, something that I don't know if you would agree or not, but I think it's a strength of yours, just based on the conversations that we've had together.
Well, I appreciate that. I've just learned to be a better listener by watching really good listeners. I would have certain friends that I would listen to or have a conversation with, and I would leave them feeling like, wow, they really cared about what I had to say. And so I focused on, what are they doing that I could learn from?
Yeah.
And it's, that direct eye contact, someone who is not also on their phone at the same time, or checking it out, making sure they didn't miss anything, or looking around, asking follow-up questions so they're hearing you. These are the things that, if we would all listen more carefully, we would gather the information really that we need to have not just courageous conversations, but conversations in general. I don't know about you, but there are so many times where there are so many distractions around, and I think I'm listening.
Yes.
And then I realize that I think I missed that whole last phrase. What was that?
Yeah.
And you realize that our world just creates so many distractions. It's hard to be a good listener.
It is.
But we can practice it. And it's probably one of the most worthwhile tools we can have in our toolbox.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. And I think especially because we react so much to the things that we hear. I remember I used to work for someone and she had real fiery personality, and I would go into her office and say, something happened, usually some crisis, well, this happened or that. And she'd be picking up the phone. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. She was ready to call the person I was talking to her about or whatever and be like, and I said, whoa, hold on a second. Let me finish. You're reacting before. But she had already taken that information and was off to the races with it and just wasn't really hearing. I always think it's interesting when people talk about the differences between, listening and truly hearing someone and what they have to say.
Yep.
And the impact that can have if you really listen to understand instead of listening to respond or just listening to get what you want out of the conversation.
Well, and listening is not just with your ears. It is watching body language, because in a conversation, you can tell instantly when someone is shutting down.
Yes.
You've said something from which they're either turned off or they feel like they're no longer safe to have this conversation with you. And that's the moment you got to kind of think about, okay, where are we in this conversation? Can we reestablish a safe conversation or do we need to move on? Because if you really watch people, you can learn a lot.
Yes.
Truly a lot. And then the other thing I was going to mention is a lot of times with men and women, if I would bring to a man, and I'm going to apologize for this being a generality because I don't like generalizations. A lot of times if I would bring a problem, something that happened to a man, the man instantly is, oh my gosh, I can solve that. Let's do this. Let's do that.
Yes.
How about that? Have you thought about that? And a lot of women just want to share what the problem is. Have you absolutely listened to it? And then she's good.
Yes.
Because she can't handle her own problems.
Right.
She doesn't always need someone to fix them for her.
Yes.
And I appreciate that there's good intent there.
Yes. Yes. But yeah, you're right. I love that. There's a video. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a nail in a woman's forehead. Have you heard of this? No. I'll send it to you, but it's really funny. And she's talking to her significant other and she's like, it's just, I have this pain in my head, and she's got this giant nail sticking out of her head, and he's like, you have a nail in your head, and she's like, stop trying to problem solve. Like, it's this whole thing, and it's so funny, and he's like, and finally he goes, that sounds really hard or tough or whatever, and she's like, yes, thank you for being there for me. And she's like, it's just that my sweater's snag. And he's like, you have a nail in your head. Like you can't hold it in any longer. And it's a hilarious video. But I just love that interaction because you're right. Oftentimes, again, you get people in situations where it's like, why are they telling me this information? Oh, they must want me to problem. I do that a lot with my son. I think sometimes I automatically want to jump into, oh, you're sharing this with me because you have a problem that you need me to solve and give you advice on. And then I realize, maybe he just wants to vent. Maybe he just wants to connect. I think a lot of times that's also why women in particular will share information. It's more of I want to connect with you and just have the bond that comes from a good conversation.
Well, and maybe what we should say is, oh, so that sounds really difficult. Is there any way that I can be helpful?
Yeah.
And you put it in their court because people want your help when they ask for it.
Yes.
And not often before. Okay.
Exactly. I know that was a hard lesson for me. So I'm a certified coach, and to truly follow the traditional coaching model, I mean, there's a lot of people that use coaching in various contexts, but pure, authentic coaching is not telling and it's not problem solving.
Right. You're facilitating, right?
Yes. It's asking questions. It's basically the assumption is the person already knows the answer, but they just maybe have a hard time accessing it, or
That's
they
right.
just need to kind of bounce it off of somebody else. And so really it's talking about power differentials. Again, it's a collaborative partnership. So
That's
it's
right.
not, I have a position of authority over you, such that maybe a consultant or someone who maybe is a subject matter expert would have. It's truly, hey, you're the expert of you. I'm not the expert.
Yes.
And so let's go on a collaborative conversation together. But it's all about getting curious, asking a lot of powerful questions. And it is hard to do that. It was really hard.
Not offer advice.
Yes. Because I love to problem solve for people. And let me tell, I've dealt with that before. Here's how you fix that. And to learn to just listening, because that's a big component of coaching as well, is learning active listening, and to be able to just stop and just focus on that person and really hear what they have to say, and not offer up suggestions or solutions, but
maybe
to
say
be
nothing
there.
at all.
Yes.
That's hard.
Very hard, especially for a talker like me. I want to fill all those silences. But yeah, you're right. And pausing and just giving them space to say what they need to say and listen non-judgmentally. And when I went into that process, was like, what is the benefit of this? Don't they just, everybody just wants to have their problem solved. Why would we do this? But I have seen the power of it and the gift of people saying, wow, it feels so good to just be heard and to have someone truly listening who seems like they really genuinely care about what's in the best interest of me, not in their own best interest, and to be given that safe space to know that they're not going to get yelled at or in trouble for what they have to say, but they can just be their authentic self, and it's not going to be used against them somehow.
And they can help you test your thinking. So I worked with a life coach when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do at different points. And truly, sometimes I'd say something and she might just say, why not? Why can't you do that? And, make you explain why something's not an option.
Exactly.
And why you can't think bigger than you were thinking.
Yeah.
And, it's very valuable to have a sounding board like that.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. So as I think about, you have had such amazing progression in your career, the things that you've accomplished. And I think about, if you could kind of go back in time and think about someone like Alys just starting out at the law firm, or someone in your situation, what advice would you give to young professionals, young women starting out in their career, maybe things that you wish someone had pulled you aside and told you?
So there's really two things. The first, and this will sound crazy, but I say play golf. Oh. And I don't actually mean the sport. I mean, with the game of golf, you have to focus on your own mechanics.
Yes.
Your own swing. You're not focusing on what the other players are doing, and you're focusing only on your own score. So you keep your head down, focus on your work. So in a work setting, focus on your work, what you're doing. Don't focus on what your peers are doing, whether your peer got a promotion and you didn't, whether they're getting paid more than you are, unless, of course, it's a man with the same job and you're getting paid less. That's totally different.
Then we have a problem.
But truly, when we compare ourselves to others, we become less confident.
Yeah.
And we kind of self-sabotage. And then we get involved in this stupid office politics.
Yes.
Just focus on your job, do the best that you can. The other thing I would say is so many women have imposter syndrome. We know this well, that we think we don't know that we're as good as we are.
Yes.
And men seem to know how good they are, even when they're not.
Yes.
It's crazy. So I say, go for it every time. Just work your hardest, do the best you can, go for the hardest thing, do the dirty job, and you will be the go-to person.
Yeah.
And just realize that you're always better and smarter than you think you are. And if you just go for it and you fake it until you become it,
yes,
you will be successful.
Yes.
When I started with the Ohio Attorney General's office, I was given 14 counties, and any case that happened in any of those 14 counties, I had to go take a deposition.
Big counties.
Yeah, I had to do a deposition. I had to do the trial. And I had never done one before.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I would prepare as well as I could. I would show up. I would look like I had done this forever.
Yes.
And they never knew.
Yes.
And that's really the advice I give people. Don't look like you're scared to death.
Yes.
Pretend you got it.
Yes.
Because you will.
Yes.
Yes.
It's so true. And if you go in there with a powerful presence, it's amazing. I mean, I have literally done things even down to wearing a red dress on days that I'm like, well, I'm not really feeling it, but I need to go in confident, being able to, even how you carry yourself and just tell yourself, you can do this. You can do hard things, right? Go in there and it's amazing how sometimes that confidence will follow, even if you're not really feeling it in the beginning, but it'll catch up to you.
That's
as
exactly
you go
right.
through it and as you learn and as you grow.
Yep.
For sure. Well, I just have one final question for you as I think about, I know it's always funny when someone's newly into a role asking them about their legacy, but I just have to ask as you think about, because you do have such a tremendous platform, you have such a potential to have such a positive impact, especially here in West Virginia. So I just have to ask, what type of legacy are you hoping to create here in West Virginia and beyond, especially given, just your role coming here and maybe the things that you and Brad even thought about and talked about before you made the decision to move. But I'd love to hear what type of a legacy you want to leave.
I would like to leave a legacy as a really good role model.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope to be a good role model for other women, to try to lift as many women up as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I want to be known as a role model for helping to raise the level of education in West Virginia, and with our philanthropies, to show other people that everybody can invest in good companies, in good people, in organizations, in entrepreneurs, helping keep our environment in West Virginia as beautiful as it is and use it for good. And it doesn't have to be, millions of dollars.
No.
Invest what you can. Support those organizations and people that are doing the things that you admire. And try to do some of the same things yourself. If we can all work together in partnerships, we can raise not just the state, we can raise our communities, we can raise the people around us. And if that's what I would say I would hope my legacy could be.
Yeah. Well, you are, I think, well on your way already. So I am
Thank you.
excited. I'm very excited about the Women's Warrior Summit. So you said that's October 6th, right?
That's
okay.
right.
So I'm sure more information. October's a little ways away. So more information will be coming out about that. But that is something for, I think, many people to look forward to. I have it on my calendar because I want to come to it.
Awesome.
So I'm excited to be there. Anything we've left on the table that you wanted to share or talk about?
I would just share that my claims to fame are my two daughters.
Aww.
I have my daughter Peyton is an assistant prosecutor in Cabell County.
Amazing.
And she's a rock star. And my other daughter has been both a life coach and a wellness coach, and she works for a tech company in the Silicon Valley, so she's very far away. But
wow.
But I raised two very strong daughters, and that's what I am most proud of.
Amazing. And that's a beautiful legacy, too. Yes. Amazing. Okay. Thank you so much for doing this. Would you be willing to do a little lightning round?
Yeah,
That's
sure.
how I usually end my podcast. Okay. It's 1 minute to answer as many open-ended questions as you can about yourself. So the timer starts now. What season best fits your personality?
Probably spring.
Aw, we're headed there. What's your most used emoji in text?
The heart and the oh my God emoji.
Maybe all in the same text message too sometimes.
Yeah.
How about, what's something about you that surprises people when they first hear it?
I have an identical twin, and yes, we have switched on many dates.
Ooh, I want to hear more stories about that. Fill in the blank. I spend too much money on
making sure my mother is happy and comfortable.
Aw, it's well worth the investment. What celebrity would you want to play you in a movie?
Probably Reese Witherspoon, because she's spunky and she's smart and she's always doing great things that aren't not expected of her.
Yes, yes. And she's very supportive of women too. Yes. So that's a good choice. If you would write a book, what would the title be?
Now's the time.
Yes. Oh, it's Speaking of now is the time, your timer is up. So go write the book. I cannot thank you enough for being here again. I know it was a hike to get up here.
Oh, it's so worth it.
I appreciate the time and you sharing your wonderful wisdom, your beautiful inside and out. And I'm so excited that you are here in West Virginia and all the amazing things that you're doing. So thanks for sharing just a piece of that today.
It's my pleasure. It was a great time. I enjoyed it.
Awesome. Very good. Well, that's all the time we have for today on Leadership Rediscovered. Until next time, shine bright, everyone.